Gaslighting is Webster's Dictionary's 2022 Word of the Year. Welcome to the English Language Learning Podcast. Gaslighting is Webster's Dictionary's 2022 Word of the Year. You can find the link, you can find the website for the Leitura, for the reading, in the description on the YouTube page. For each video, você pode encontrar o link pela leitura na descrição no canal do YouTube para todos os vídeos. Here we go. Gaslighting is Webster's Dictionary's 2022 Word of the Year. Gaslighting, behavior that's mind manipulating, grossly misleading, downright deceitful, is Merriam-Webster's Word of the Year. Lookups for the word on Merriam-Webster.com increased 1,740% in 2022 over the year before, 2021. But something else happened. There wasn't a single event that drove significant spikes in curiosity, as it usually goes with the chosen word of the year. The dictionary defines the word like this: the act or practice of grossly misleading someone, especially for one's own advantage. Hello, George Santos. Gaslighting is a heinous tool frequently used by abusers in relationships and by politicians. Hello, George Santos. And other newsmakers. It can happen between romantic partners, within a broader family unit, and among friends. It can be a corporate tactic or a way to mislead the public. There's also medical gaslighting, when a healthcare professional dismisses a patient's symptoms or illness as all in your head. Some words associated with gaslighting: aggression, machismo, interpersonal relationships, narcissism. These are Google search topics. In Brazil, actually, gaslighting é crime. So, gaslighting is our topic. It is the focus of the reading. The reading is about the word of the year from 2022, last year. We will look at the vocab, grammar, pronunciation, all things English in the next segment. Gaslighting is Webster Dictionary's 2022 Word of the Year. I'm curious if they have Portuguese words of the year. I have not seen this in Brazil. I don't know the name of the Brazilian dictionary. In the English-speaking world, we have a few. Webster's Dictionary, I believe, is the American Vernacular Dictionary. But gaslighting, G-A-S-L-I-G-H-T-I-N-G. This is, I don't know if this is a new word, but it is just being added to the dictionary as the word of the year. Or let me change that. It's been chosen as the word of the year. I don't know when it was added. Eu não estou com certeza quando eles colocaram gaslighting no dicionário. But it was the word of the year. So let's start here. Gaslighting. The first sentence of the Leitura tells us gaslighting is behavior, comportamento, that's mind manipulating, grossly misleading, downright deceitful. And so they tell us some more, right? The dictionary definition, this is the actual language in the definition: the act or practice of grossly misleading someone for one's own advantage. So, to gaslight is to make someone think that they are percebendo erradamente. To make someone think that they are perceiving reality wrongly or incorrectly, that they don't have the correct notion, that their reality is not real. And they mention this is used by abusers. That's where I understand the word. To gaslight someone in my brain is to manipulate them into thinking that their feelings are wrong or unjustified, right? I'm feeling abused. Well, I'm not abusing you, so you can't feel abused. What I'm doing is not abusive in my mind, so you can't feel abused. You don't understand the reality correctly. You're not being abused. You can't feel abused, so stop feeling abused. Or in George Santos's case, right? Hey, George, you have all of these lies. I mean, George Santos invented the rocket and NASA. George Santos built the pyramids. Um, George Santos is, Chuck Norris's cousin, and he's just saying, well, no, none of those media reports are true. I am not a liar, and I will continue to fight for, for people to see me in the real way, not in this fabricated jeito mentiroso, no jeito que comporta, que fica, que cabe na realidade, que sou eu, sabe, né? Sou eu. Não você, vocês estão confundidos. So gaslighting is a heinous or bad or evil tool to make someone question or doubt their own feelings in their own situation. Grossly, it's the first sentencing. Grossly misleading. Grossly misleading is when something is extremely and intentionally inaccurate, not true. Grossamente enganoso. Grossamente enganoso. Downright deceitful. Downright deceitful. Downright deceitful would mean basically the same as grossly misleading. Totalmente enganoso. Completely manipulative and untrue. So downright means completely. Completely. Deceitful would mean enganoso. Lookups. The article mentions in the second paragraph lookups for the word on Merriam-Webster.com increased almost 2,000% in 2022 from 2021. Lookups. This word means buscas, procuras, no internet, right? They don't know how many times people look up, procurar, procura, procuran, a word on a physical dictionary book, right? But lookups is a reference to searches on the website of Merriam-Webster.com, the virtual dictionary website. To drive curiosity. To drive curiosity. This is in the second paragraph of the Leitura. But something else happened. There was not a single event that drove, it's to drive in the pasado, that drove significant spikes in curiosity, as it usually goes with the chosen word of the year. So they're saying usually the word of the year is chosen because of some event that makes people search a word, like elections or something, or pandemic, right? A pandemic happened, people search for pandemic on Google, then Google makes pandemic the word of the year, COVID the word of the year. God, hopefully COVID was never the word of the year. So to drive curiosity or driving significant spikes, aumentas em curiosity, curiosidade, e gerar curiosidade gerou picos, spikes, picos significativos de curiosidade. Heinous, heinous. This is in the final paragraph of the Leitura. Gaslighting is a heinous tool frequently used by abusers in relationships. Heinous means terrível, hedionda. Uma ferramenta terrível, hedionda. That is all, I believe. Let me see that final paragraph. Mislead. They use this word mislead. It's one word a few times in the article. And to mislead is enganar, right? We had downright deceitful, grossly misleading. And so to mislead is to trick or enganar, to fool someone. We also say to get someone, right? But particularly it means lie, to lie, or to tell part of the truth and not all of the truth, which is more or less a derivative, a derivation of lying. So misleading, this is a word we see a lot in the news, especially in politics and business. So that is all for all things English. In the next segment, we have questions and conversation about gaslighting, about have you experienced the different forms of gaslighting, about maybe what is the word in Portuguese that I do not know. As we speak, I do not know what the translation of gaslighting. I think enganar, but enganar, we have the word mislead. So gaslighting is not just to enganar someone. It's a little bit more complex than just lying. It's lying about particular things that it's almost necessary to have a power dynamic, right? Because when you're gaslighting, you are trying to construct a false reality for someone else, and they believe it. Coming up next. Gaslighting is Webster's Dictionary's 2022 Word of the Year. We talked about the meaning of gaslighting. We read together from the article, the link that you can find in the description. Na descrição você pode encontrar o link onde estávamos lendo sobre gaslighting, o que significa, e também estávamos fazendo resumo do vocabulário difícil. Now we are doing questions and conversation. The first question, I don't have the answer with me. I could search it, but the question is there a word for this concept or notion in Portuguese? And I don't just mean mentirar, mentirar, mentir. I don't just mean enganar, right? It's a little bit more specific and particular. Let me see. I'm going to do the Google translation right now. I don't think Google will give us a great... Yeah, Google is giving manipulação. So manipulation is accurate. To gaslight someone is to manipulate them. It's very particular, the form of manipulation. But yes, manipulação. Have you ever felt like someone was gaslighting you? Have you ever felt like someone was gaslighting you? Did you ever have someone try and convince you that, hey, your feelings are invalid because reality is not so bad? The things that you think are happening that are causing your feelings are completely false and not true. So have you had that feeling before, like someone was gaslighting you, denying and manipulating you in order to, what's the opposite of rationalize, derationalize, your feelings. Basically, try to make you feel like you are crazy, right? Do you think this is a new trend? I forgot the words the questions in Portuguese. Tenho uma palavra em português para por essa por esse conceito, essa noção de gaslighting. E a segunda, você já alguma vez sentiu como alguém estava te gaslighting or manipulando? And our third question in English first. Do you think this is a new trend that created a new word? Or do you think that this is just a new word for an old idea or concept? Você acha que esse é trend novo que foi criado, que criou uma palavra nova? Ou se você acha que essa é uma palavra nova por ideia antigo, conceito antigo? What do you think? I'm not sure. I think manipulation is, very old. Gaslighting, I don't know. I almost feel like gaslighting may be more common now because I think science has given us some certainties or close to some laws, some things that we can say, hey, objectively, this is true. But we also have the internet where people are deciding to do their own research and, create their own reality. And so I think it may be common or more common now because people get to decide what their reality is, even though some things we have more objective truths. But I have no idea. I have no idea. Is this a new word or is this an old concept, a new word with an old human custom or habit to manipulate? Have you ever experienced medical gaslighting? Have you ever experienced medical gaslighting, which is when a doctor or nurse denies your expressions of pain? Doctor, I'm feeling pain in my back. Qual é o nível entre 1 e 10? It's 8, 9. It's a 9 out of 10. It's so painful. It hurts a lot. And the doctor, maybe is saying, no, you're fine. We're doing tests and exams and we don't see anything, so you must be fine. You must be lying about what you're feeling. We don't believe you. No, we're not going to do more treatment. We're not going to give you extra treatment. I don't think I have ever experienced that. I have had a panic attack, right? And this is not medical gaslighting, but in a panic attack, you have symptoms that are very real, and then you go and get an exam, right? And if your panic attack is, ending, they won't measure, eles não podem medir os sintomas porque está acabando e não foi uma coisa do coração mesmo batendo mais, não, mais coisas psicológicas que está manifestando fisicamente, né? But I have not had a doctor tell me or disbelieve, right? That I think that's medical gaslighting. To a doctor not believing that you are feeling what you say you are feeling. Now, in the African American community, this is a trend of doctors in the United States. I don't know about in Brazil, but in the United States, there's lots of research from Harvard. You can find this very easily on the internet about the relationship between African American patients in the hospital or at the doctor, and especially women, and the doctors not believing that they're feeling pain or even thinking that African American patients pode lidar com mais pena, com mais dor, that they can feel more pain, that they can sustain more pain than other people. Meaning, hey, vamos deixar ele sentir o dor porque ele pode, porque ele pode. So, yeah, I don't know about in Brazil. I'm interested in Brazil if there are any groups or populations that where there is a trend for doctors to not believe their patients' expressions of pain and discomfort. Let me try this in Portuguese. Se você já alguma vez passou por ou sentiu gaslighting medical or no médico or dos médicos, could you brainstorm some possible reasons for medical gaslighting? Se você pode brainstorm algumas razões possíveis por gaslighting dos médicos. What are some? Well, racism would be one. I think that's the obvious one, but why doctors would be thinking that, yeah, I would say this: racism and probably, and probably some differences culturally, and some in the United States, for example. Again, this is easily researched on Google. The United States, black and white people do not live together. It's a segregated country, even in California, maybe especially in California, but throughout the whole country, there are white neighborhoods and black neighborhoods and Hispanic neighborhoods. Why is that? Well, that would take a whole 2-hour episode, but there are many structural reasons historically, de lei mesmo, a lei falando que os brancos e os negros não podem morar juntos, ou, dito diferente, que os negros não podem morar no bairro branco, não pode comer no restaurante branco. Então, se não pode ficar em lugares, espacinhos brancos, você não vai ficar em bairros brancos, né? Vai criar bairros de negros. So, the United States is culturally segregated, physically, culturally, economically, it's segregated. So, black culture and white culture, we are aware, we know some things about each other, but we don't see each other on a daily. It's not the same culture. American culture does not have that privilege of, it's American culture. We have Brazilians in the north and the south eating feijoada on a Wednesday and a Sunday, on a Saturday. And in the U.S., we don't have anything like that. If you go to a samba party or a carnival party, you see white and black people mixing frequently, old and young people too. We don't have that in the United States. We don't have that kind of mixture in some areas, in some urban areas. Yeah, sure. But residentially, where people live, no. So why am I talking about this with medical gaslighting? I think that might be a reason. Doctors come from very different places than black communities. There are not many black doctors, especially, I imagine, outside of black communities. So if the doctors don't come from the African American community and the United States is segregated culturally and economically, probably these people don't understand each other. I imagine, and I've heard this personally from some African American friends and speakers, African American communities also don't trust doctors because of the horrible history and relationship between white America and white doctors and African American people and communities. So, yeah, maybe that's a reason. I don't know. What do you think? And in Brazil, do you have this? Do you have doctors who don't believe the expressions and the communication from patients? That is all from the questions. We have one more segment, our final segment now. Why do I think this matters in Brazil? We kind of just talked about that. I'm curious if there is a word or expression in Brazil for this abusive tactic of trying to make someone question or doubt their own reality. Why? So they can be controlled more easily or manipulated more easily. This is important in all cultures because people who are abused, usually that's women, usually that's especially black women, people who are abused can have difficulty. Victims of abuse can have difficulty explaining the nature of their abuse, even to themselves. This word, gaslighting, this word is very specific. It has a specific meaning, and it helps abused people and other people understand, identify, and communicate their experience. So I think in Brazil, there should be a word, and maybe there is, right? I just don't know, other than manipulação. There should be a word that helps people, both victims of abuse and people who have never been abused, pessoas que nunca foram abusados, entender o que as pessoas que foram abusados estão experienciando, or what they are experiencing. Oftentimes when someone gets abused and people hear or read the details, they go, why? How? Why would you stay? Why would you tolerate that bad abusive treatment? Gaslighting is usually the reason, because they are convinced of a different reality, or just scared to leave because of more violence, and they get stuck. So that is all. Thank you for listening to this episode of the English Language Learning Podcast. Leave a comment, inscrever, subscribe, a like or a dislike, and keep listening.